listening to Footscray Live.
Welcome everybody, broadcasting live from Woodnoval, you're listening to Footscray Live. My name is Stanley Webb and with me I have Sean, Yasmin, Archie, James and Arav. Now, this is the community show and our special guest today is the Mayor of Maribyrnong, Sarah Carter. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm delighted to be here.
Well, I read that you've been part of the council since 2011 and were elected to be mayor in 2016, is that right?
It was actually 2008 that I was first elected, so I'm in my third term, and you're right, this is my second time as mayor.
Yeah.
And so I've only been back in the role for 4 weeks, but back in 2011, so it's been 8 years.
Okay. So what exactly is the difference between the mayor and a council member?
That's a really good question. Essentially, the mayor is the spokesperson for the councillor group. So as an individual, the mayor has no more power than the other councillors, but they are the spokesperson, they're the representative, and I guess the public face of the council.
Okay.
So, Sarah, what first inspired you to become part of the council?
Yeah, so I was actually working for a council, Hume, which is out in Broadmeadows, a very diverse community like our own, and I was a communications officer and I'd write about all the great things going on in the city. And when they opened the Hume Global Learning Centre, I remember them saying, kids from, Broadmeadows won't turn up for after hours tutoring in maths and things that was happening at the library. And it was that busy that the system went into meltdown. And I just thought, what amazing interventions you can oversee as a councillor that really impact a community. And from then, I really wanted to get involved at that level in my own community.
Yeah.
So it's Arav here. You're now Mayor of Maribyrnong. Was this always an aim for you to be Mayor?
No, so I wasn't involved in student politics, wasn't involved in politics in any way until I got involved in the community. So I was about 28 then. Kind of fell into it, some would say, but a passion for community advocacy. When I was at high school, I was always on the SRC and I was into inter-school debating. So I guess I always had opinions and was quite proactive as an advocate, and then just naturally led to where we are today.
Okay. So what did you want to be when you were a kid?
Oh, I thought I might want to be an actor. Mm-hmm. I loved theatre and I actually trained in classical Greek and Shakespeare. And then I thought I wanted to be a psychologist. My mum wanted me to be a lawyer. Mm-hmm. You know how parents always have ideas about what we should be doing.
Yeah.
But I naturally found what was good for me, and that is I love people and I love being in the community and I love advocating for people. So it's the perfect fit for me.
Yeah.
How would you think someone in the community would go run for mayor? Do you have to be in council first, or could you just go, okay, I'm just going to go for mayor?
Just be a mayor? I mean, it's not that complicated. So it's something that I say, if I can do it, anyone can do it.
Yeah.
But in the sense that it's the councillors who elect the mayor. So you have to first be elected as a councillor to then be considered to be mayor. Because where the community votes for their local councillor, then the councillors themselves decide who they want to be the spokesperson for council.
Hi, Sarah. James here. So you have been both the mayor and a member of the council. Which job have you enjoyed more?
Okay, so I guess it's the world's worst kept secret, but I love being mayor because you get out in the community more. At this time of year, it means you're very hardly ever home. I think in 5 weeks I've had 4 nights at home, so we're getting a little bit tired. But I guess I think I'm very lucky in the sense that that age-old rule, if you do what you love and it doesn't feel like work. So I'm having a fantastic time and I consider myself very lucky.
Hi.
So what's the most rewarding part of working as a councillor?
I think there are many. I think when you have an idea and you're working with the community and you see that idea realised, whether it be upgrades to a facility or you get a new sports stadium built, sometimes community parks. I think any opportunity that you have to contribute to the community cohesion that we really value here in Maribyrnong, I think that's really satisfying.
Kind of Sarah, on the opposite of that, what do you find the most challenging thing about your work is?
Oh, people can be really nasty, particularly online. I think that's one of the things, and it's changed so much over the last 10 years, well, now 12 years that I've been a counsellor. I think people have a lot of ideas and are very quick to judge you without having met you. I think these days, rather than reaching out and just chatting to our representatives about what problems, we start by blaming them first, and we go to social media, and it can all get a little bit nasty when we're all just of the community and community representatives, really.
Hi, Sean here. I was wondering, what do you think is the most urgent problem within this region?
Yeah, well, I think there are a lot, but I think public transport is a really big one because we are growing so quickly. Our population in this city is set to double by 2040, which really isn't that far away. And if you think about all the new homes that are needed, you think about all the more cars that are going to be on the road, I think we need those. For anyone who ever catches the tram out to High Point, we know that's a very long tram ride. So I think we need planning, I think, is the biggest issue for us.
And what is it that you can do to help that?
Wow, we can actually advocate to the state government for improved public transport, and particularly when we do something called precinct plans. So for Footscray, we look at, okay, so there's going to be a lot of development. What community infrastructure do we need? Community infrastructure also boils down to, if we're going to have a lot more people living in the city, that means we need more sports stadiums, that means we need more community centres. So it's that kind of infrastructure planning for the long term that council can play a direct role in.
What can we as community members do to support this or make it happen?
Yeah, so I actually had some students coming to town hall last Friday. They were presenting on issues. So, and I think that is a really great initiative that your school has led on. I think contacting your local representatives and letting them know what you want. We also, and you were there for my spruiking of the site Your City, Your Voice. So all major kind of projects that we're looking at, we upload them to that site, and that's a way for the community to vote on what's important and have their say and feed back into the plans that we're developing. So Your City, Your Voice is kind of the place to go to find out about all the big things that we're working on.
Yeah.
So Footscray has been voted the 13th coolest neighborhood by Time Out in the world.
Yeah.
How has Footscray improved to gain that status, and how will it continue to improve?
Yeah, I don't think it's about things. I think finally, I think it's the people that make us so cool. I think we're very blessed to have a real melting pot of cultures, and we celebrate those cultures, and I think we're very proud of them. I think our working class roots have held us in good stead. There's a strong sense of community cohesion, and you only have to look at all the different foods that you can get. We know that people love to get out and about, and I think through Festival City as well, we see that celebration of all the different cultures. I think it's just that. I think it's our diversity that makes us really cool because it makes us interesting.
What is it that you love the most about Footscray?
Oh, I love it all. I'm a little bit biased because I get to see, it's actually that's a difficult question because I get to see so many things throughout any given week that I love. But again, for me, it's the people and the personalities. For me, it'll always be the people. We've got some great people and a great community here in West.
Something on the flip side of things, we all remember the whole Save Footscray Park protests that were going around, and eventually that succeeded because of the public opinion. How has that and things like that changed how the council and you, the mayor, take in the voice of people?
Yeah, so one of the things that we learned through that process is really that our ways of engagement are probably a little bit outdated. Governments tend to be a bit bulky in the way they do things, and we're all so connected these days. I think we have to be more agile and robust and connect in new ways, whilst not leaving behind our culturally and linguistically diverse communities as well. But I think the other thing is people are infinitely aware that we're growing so quickly. And that being the place, the community spoke very loudly to say that we need to preserve the open space that we've got. We don't have enough of it. The proposal would be better on another location, but in that historic park that is valued by so many, people have said very clearly, we just need some space.
Yeah.
Hi. what would you say would be your biggest achievement while you've been on the council or as the mayor?
For me, it's Festival City, so that was my baby. Because we didn't have a festival program or a community events program, and it's not just about getting together and having a bit of a party. It's about economic development and promoting local businesses. It's about attracting people, and when we activate a city, we know that people feel safer. It also is about obviously people and bringing them together to showcase, as we have done. You look at Holly Festival in West Footscray and Diwali. Last weekend we've had recently the Macedonian Festival, and so I think just having a forum in which we can get together and celebrate, whether it be movies, I think that's probably been my greatest success in being able to empower community groups to deliver on those initiatives, because council doesn't say, oh, this is what we want to see. We provide the money and we mentor people, but they put forward their ideas of what matters to them in the community.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've heard that some exciting developments are happening, such as the Footscray Learning Precinct and the new Western Hospital. What will these types of projects do for the region?
Yeah, so it's enormous investment. If we're looking at the new hospital, and we've needed one for a very long time, Footscray Hospital, the current hospital, is very old. And this is obviously going to take care of our growing city and will give us world-class amenity and facilities that we can use. It's also going to create jobs throughout the build, and then also obviously through employment. So I think it's just, we deserve really good facilities, and I think for a long time the West was kind of further down on the priority list, but fortunately, given the growth and some advocacy from MPs at all states and council, everyone's come together to realise that we need to do that. I'm also excited, as I spoke about last week, we're looking at, and it's something that we're currently discussing, redoing the Footscray Library and making it really kind of modern, but building the West's first theatre space. So a big theatre space that students like you can use for theatre productions, for graduations. We can also have, professional theatre troupes kind of come in from Melbourne City and do satellite events, but a really big performance space, because we're lacking that here.
Sounds
so
good.
Support the West. See, so you have to go to Your City, Your Voice, because we need people to comment back. Yeah.
Do you think that these new changes will bump us into the top 10 coolest neighborhoods in the world?
That's my mission. That's a good question. I've got 1 year to get us up a few notches, haven't I? So I think like the project for the library and meeting spaces and creating a town park in the middle of Footscray and a big performing arts centre, it costs a lot of money. So we'll have to be advocating. My job will be to be advocating to the state and federal governments and philanthropic trusts. But I think now is the time to be bold and ambitious for our city, because I think we deserve it.
So, Yasmin here. I was just wondering, is the politics in the local government different to the state or federal government? Or is it the same at like every level?
Well, it is different in the sense that, so I'm a member of the Labor Party, but that is quite distinctly separate to my role as a councillor. So the councillors who are affiliated with the Labor Party, we vote however we want. We don't actually have to vote together as, say, a state or federal government would do in a block. So it's less political in that sense, and we can fulfil our roles as a council. I think it's a lot easier to get things done at the local level, because I only have to convince 6 other people that something's a good idea, and I can make it happen. So I think that's one of the, whilst it's not as fancy as the state or federal government, I think you can have a great deal of impact at the local level.
Yeah. Being part of the council for as long as you have, you probably met some very interesting people. Do you have any stories of people you've met that have been good or bad or funny or?
Yeah, so you get to meet a lot of people who come to visit the Inner West, but usually it's more just the characters that you'll meet when you're out and about at events. So I wouldn't say I've got anything that stands out, because I meet so many people every week, but just really lovely people and quite a lot of people who I've met in the community have become good friends because I've been around for so long as well, that are involved in community groups and that you're advocating with and that you work on initiatives with. But I can't think of anything wacky The Dalai Lama came. That was pretty cool. To the Kwangming Temple. So if we're talking about, big names, that's pretty big. But outside of that, I'm trying to think, and I can't really think of anything.
Okay.
Well, going back to like the state and federal government and local and whatever, are you ever tempted to like go up to state or federal government?
Yes, so I actually a few years ago, and it's no secret, had a go at running for the Senate, and I didn't win that. As a lot of people, it takes a few goes and things like that. But I also do have a job that I love, working for Save the Children, and I'm funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. I actually take our federal members of parliament overseas to look at Australia's aid investment and also humanitarian crises. So to be honest, that job plus local politics and being a councillor, I'm very content. So I get to go and advocate with the federal government on issues that really matter to me around refugees and supporting vulnerable communities around the world.
Okay. For those of you who have just tuned in, you're listening to the community show on Footscray Live, and our special guest today is Sarah Carter, the Mayor of Maribyrnong.
So, Sarah, are you tempted to enter state politics or even federal politics?
Maybe one day, but not right now. I absolutely love this role, and I've got a lot more work. Monday, I'm flying for a whole 2 days to Bangladesh to meet with the Australian High Commissioner to talk about a visit. And I'll fly 17 hours to spend 30 hours there and jump on a plane and fly 17 hours back so I don't miss our Christmas carols. So I am crazy busy, but I am really, really happy. And because I love my work so much, I count myself as very fortunate. So for right now, no immediate plans.
What's the issue that you get the most complaints about?
Parking. Parking's a big one, and that's usually you'll find across most councils, particularly in a city, because with a lot of development, obviously where you get multi-storey or multi-dwelling complexes, there's more cars and more demand on the available space on the road, which we can't actually create more of that unless we're building car parks. So it's always around parking usually.
Yeah.
A bit on the different note, I just wanted to ask, what's your favourite restaurant in Footscray?
Oh, that's favourites. Am I allowed to play favourites? Okay, so for a fancy night, I like Copper Pot in Seddon, but that's very fancy. But Supper Hills for Vietnamese.
Oh, yeah, it is good.
Oh, so
Yeah,
good. The
that's a good
smoky
one.
kind of beef one. And what else do I like? I like the Cambodian Bopa Devi in Yarraville. I'm trying to pick one so that we're even across all the suburbs. Olive oil for Greek in Kingsville. Covered off on all bases.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
And the Bulldogs Barker's Cafe.
Yes, that's close to home.
Yeah.
So
Great spot for lunch and the best coffee.
Come on now, you'll see us maybe.
So with where we're going with Footscray at the moment, like with the new hospital and stuff, and like all the apartments and stuff like that, where do you think Footscray will be in about 20 years?
I think with the right planning, we're going to hopefully be as multicultural as we are now, but just bigger. And if we have all the right facilities so that people have access to the right education and the right health facilities and recreation as well.
Yeah.
So we've got to get the mix right so that we have a good level, livability has to be really important so that people are happy. But I think we're going to be bustling and thriving. So I think it's a really exciting time to live in Footscray.
Cool. That's all the time we have for this show. Sarah, thank you so much for coming in. It's been a real honor.
Thank you for having me. The honour is all mine. You're all so professional.
My name's Stanley, and this has been the Community Show. Thanks for listening.
Listening to Footscray Live.